Well, hello everyone. This is a little bit of a surprise. I know. I was going to do a video on this topic, but I thought that it would be better to just go live and talk to you about what's happening in the world right now. Crazy times we live in. We, of course, know about what's been going on in Israel since October 7th of last year, when the Hamas group down in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, the Hamas organization took a number of hostages, including some Americans, but mostly Israelis, took men, women, children, took them hostage and have held them and abused them. Some of them are still being held even today. Frankie mentioned that that President-elect Trump, has actually given a threat to Hamas, saying they need to release the remaining prisoners or they're going to face consequences from the United States. That's quite a threat there. But lately, what's been going on in Syria is what caught my attention, because I believe that there's at least the possibility we could be seeing a prophecy fulfilled. And people say, oh, well, Brother Bill, I thought we believed in a pre-tribulation rapture, and that, all these prophecies, they don't occur until the tribulation period. Well, yes, I do believe and strongly teach a pre-tribulation rapture. However, that prophecies can be fulfilled before that time. Yes, that's absolutely true. The tribulation period will not start until after the rapture, but there are many examples of modern day prophecy fulfillments. For instance, Israel becoming a nation again was a fulfillment of prophecy. It was talked about in Isaiah chapter 11. The Lord said that he was going to bring all of the dispersed of Israel into the land once again. And the prophet actually said the second time. This was before the Babylonian captivity, before they went into captivity the first time. And he's not talking about that captivity. He's talking about some future one, which was the dispersion that came in AD 70, when the Romans came and destroyed the city of Jerusalem, and in particular the temple was destroyed, also fulfilling the words of Jesus Christ to the letter from Matthew 24, talking about how one stone would not be left upon another. And then in AD 100, the nation of Israel basically ceased to exist with the fall of Masada. The Romans, again, they had besieged the city of Masada. They finally got to the point where they could go and take the city, and when they went into the city, they found that everyone had committed suicide rather than falling victim to going to the Roman galleys or becoming slaves, whatever the case may be. So Israel ceased to exist, and at that time, and for 2,000 years, they were spread abroad in the whole world, all across Europe and in Russia and America, and basically down into Africa, all across Asia. The people of Israel were spread all across the globe, and but now in the last days, starting in 1948, actually technically starting in World War I with the Balfour Declaration, that basically God has been drawing the people back into the land, drawing them back into Israel, and that's where we see them right now today. But it's not Israel specifically that I want to talk to you about today. It's Damascus in Syria, because one of the things that Israel has been doing ever since the attacks on October 7th, they've been at war. They've been fighting with Hamas, and then as soon as they fought with Hamas, Hezbollah got involved, and they were based in Lebanon and Syria. They're Iranian-backed, of course, but they've been coming down and trying to, they've been firing missiles into Israel, and so the fighting has gone back and forth, and Hamas is basically devastated. Hezbollah is basically on the ropes and everything. But Hezbollah was one of the key organizations that kept President Assad in power in Syria, and now Assad, his regime has been toppled. He has escaped into Russia. Him and his family have fled to Russia, and they're there now. They're being protected by the Russians. Now, why would Russia even be interested in what's going on in Syria? Well, quite frankly, they've supported everything that's gone on in Syria. They have backed the Syrian government, the Syrian regime of Assad. because Assad and his regime are not particularly popular in the country of Syria. You have to understand that Syria is there are two groups of Muslims in the Middle East. There's the Shiites and the Sunnis, and the nation of Syria is only a small percentage Shiite, but their President Assad, was a Shiite. And so he wasn't real popular among most of the people that were in that country, a lot of whom were Sunnis. And so they didn't necessarily support his government, but the government there was backed by Russia, and they were backed by Iran, which is almost entirely, like 95% Shiite. So they supported Assad and his regime there, and so he had a lot of outside support to help him maintain power. But there was always a rebel faction. For the past 10 years or so, they have been fighting against the Assad regime, and they've been fighting against the government there in Syria. Basically, there's been a civil war going on during that time, and so that's been going on. And now, because of the war with Israel has been bombing places like Damascus and other locations in Syria, and so basically Hezbollah has been more or less, most of their troops have been decimated, and most of the ones that remained in Syria have now moved down into Lebanon in order to fight against Israel. But that has left Syria without much support for Assad, President Assad. And so the result is his government has toppled. The rebels have now basically taken control of the whole country, and he has fled to Russia. That's the situation over there. But in the process of all this happening, what has been going on between either the rebels attacking or Israel bombing Syria, Damascus is just about in ruins. And so I want to share with you a prophecy that is in the book of Isaiah. So Russia backed the Assad regime when they were fighting against the rebels, and basically they made a deal with them. They said, we will give you weapons under one circumstance, that you allow us to put some military bases in Syria. And, oh, by the way, it's Isaiah 17 is what I wanted. So let me get to chapter 17 and we'll be there. All right, so we'll bring that up on there, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But Russia said, look, if you allow us to put military bases in there, we will give you weapons, we'll support you, we will help you. Oh, but they were saying all these things that they would do for Syria if they let them put military bases in there. So we ended up with 3 military bases, Russian military bases in Syria, and they are there to this day. And they have actually been trying to help Assad fight the rebels, but unfortunately for Assad, Russia is kind of tied up in the Ukraine, and they're busy fighting over there, which has the potential to boil over to the West. And I think that Russia is biding their time until President Trump gets in office to see if how things go, so that they can determine how to react to the missiles that have been placed there by the United States and England and several other NATO nations, and so they're tied up in Ukraine, and they can't afford to help Syria a whole lot. They've been flying some planes over, and they've been bombing the rebels and everything, but it hasn't done enough. And like I said, the Assad regime has been toppled in Syria. He has fled the country. He is now in Russia. So Assad and his family are up in Russia, and that brings us to this verse here in actually 3 verses. I'm going to read to you Isaiah 17 verses 1 to 3, and we'll talk about these and whether or not these things have been fulfilled, which I don't think they've been completely fulfilled yet, but it's interesting what's going on here, and I want to share this with you so that you're aware of it. So here we go. Isaiah 17:1. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city. It shall be a ruinous heap. Let me stop right here for a moment and tell you about the history of Damascus. Damascus is considered to be the oldest continually inhabited city in the world. In other words, it's the oldest city in the world that has, throughout its history, throughout human history, has had people living there, and it's been a city. It's the oldest one that we know of. There have been many other cities that have existed for a while and been destroyed, and others are newer, whatever. But this is the oldest one that has continuously been inhabited since the earliest days that we know of. So it's the oldest city in the world. And so during that time, this prophecy that Isaiah gave in about 700 BC, roughly, it was before the Babylonian captivity of Israel. He gave this prophecy, and this has never been fulfilled in the past. It's been dwelled in. People have lived in Damascus. It has been not necessarily at peace, but it has never been completely destroyed. Right now, I'm going to show you some pictures of this city. All right, sorry about that. So bring up my my browser. I've got some things to show you here. Let's go over to, nope, that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. First of all, this is an article from today in Daily Mail, which is a British paper. It's republished. It was originally written back in 2015, so some of these pictures and such may be a little bit dated, but they've reprinted it today because this is what's going on right now. But it says, Apocalypse Damascus, bombed out houses and rubble as far as the eye can see. This shattered landscape is all that remains of one suburb in Syria's capital. With rows of crumbled buildings stretching to the horizon and not a soul in sight, these apocalyptic scenes reveal the shocking legacy of the Syrian war. Once home to the spectacular ancient landmarks and a bustling population, the Damascus neighborhood of Jobar now lies in ruins as this dramatic drone footage shows, all that remains are bombed-out homes, decaying concrete, and deserted streets as far as the eye can see. And there is one of the pictures there, and I'm going to go ahead and take this off the screen so we can take a closer look at this. I'm going to bring up some of these pictures so that we can see them, and these are just pictures of Damascus, and let's make this bigger so you can see it a little bit better. And let's go up here, and all right. There we go. And so you can kind of see what's going on here. These are just building after building, and they are just completely destroyed by bombing and by destruction here, partly because of the civil war, partly because of attacks from Israel. This is what Syria looks like right now. It is a complete, it looks like the apocalypse was on it. All right, but anyway, that is the situation in Damascus, in Syria right now, and you can see it's a terrible situation as far as for the people there. And I'm not saying that any of this is good, but I'm saying that this could be the beginnings of fulfilling prophecy. Now let's get back to this screen, and so the verses there that we talked about, it says, "The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city; it shall be a ruinous heap." Right now, that's kind of what they look like. They look like a ruinous heap. Now, I'm not saying this is absolutely completely fulfilled yet, but it seems like this is in the process of being fulfilled. The cities of Aror are forsaken. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. So in other words, all that's going to be left traveling through there are a few flocks and a few shepherds going through there. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria, and they shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. So, what's been happening, of course, the rebels have been fighting back and forth in Damascus, and that's been going on for about 10 years or so, and most of the devastation really has been from Damascus, or I mean from the rebels there in Syria, not necessarily from Israel's attacks, but Israel has been attacking, and Israel is the ones that have attacked sufficiently that this has caused Hezbollah to leave Syria to enter into Lebanon to fight against Israel, which has ruined the support that Assad had for him there and forced him to flee. And now the rebels have come in, but Israel doesn't want the weapons to fall into the hands of the rebels either, because they don't much care for Israel. The Assad regime and the rebels, they both hate Israel. They just hate each other more. And so Israel has been going in and bombing. Their aircraft have been going in and bombing the weapons stores and military bases in order to keep them from falling into the hands of the rebels as well. But the whole point is that it seems that this prophecy is in the process of being fulfilled. It has never been fulfilled in the past. Right now, Syria is completely in and devastation. Wanted to bring that to your attention. We've had in the past century, we've seen so many prophecies fulfilled, mostly in Israel. Israel became a nation again in 1948 in fulfillment of prophecy. They restored the Hebrew language, which was another prophecy in Zephaniah. Jerusalem has become what the book of Zechariah calls a cup of trembling. 1/3 of all the deliberations of the United Nations Security Council have to do with Israel, and that's how serious it's become. They don't have to do with New York or London or Paris or Moscow or any of these other places. They have to do with Israel. All in fulfillment of prophecy. We've been seeing prophecy fulfilled for the past 100 years. And so now it seems that we may be seeing another one. It says, what does the prophecy mean? Prophecy means that Damascus is going to be destroyed, and probably from what it says, it doesn't seem like it will be inhabited again. Right now, it's too early to say that absolutely this prophecy has been fulfilled, but it seems like it is. It ruinous heaps? Yeah, that's a pretty good description of what is going on there. But as far as completely fulfilled, what we're going to have to see is what the upcoming days and months and such will turn out, because if the upcoming months and days show that Damascus is now uninhabited and all that, then absolutely this prophecy was fulfilled. There's no question. If they go back and rebuild the city, then maybe this is not the complete fulfillment of it. It could still be future, could be during the tribulation period, but whatever the case may be, it's going to be fulfilled. But it's certainly looking like there's a good possibility this prophecy actually is being fulfilled as we're watching right now. So I do want to mention that give me your opinions on this. Is this prophecy being fulfilled? Is it not being fulfilled? Make sure you comment on this video, and so let me know if you think that this is just a bunch of hype and I'm just encouraging it, or if you think this is actually the fulfillment of a prophecy. Let me know on there. I want your opinions. So make sure you like this video, put a comment in there, talk about it. If you agree, if you disagree, if you want to just start a conversation, put it in there and we'll do that. So anyway, appreciate y'all, love y'all. We'll talk to you later, and keep watching for the return of Jesus Christ. He's coming back. We'll see you guys later. Hi everyone, I wanted to talk to you quickly about the rapture of the church. The Lord Jesus said that he could come back at any time, and we need to be ready just in case he comes back to retrieve his church and his saints. He could come back even